In this video, let's take a look at some troubleshooting tips for Kinetic Text Animator. We're in version 1.1.0 as of this recording. So our export options are over here to the right, and I can click on them. I get some frames per second. Obviously, the more frames per second, the slower the export. The less frames per second, the faster. At 30, this is kind of industry standard. I would use less, for example, if I knew I was gonna convert an MP4 to GIF, or I might use more if I was trying to boost the quality level, the visual quality of it. So what we have are MP4, WebM, QuickTime MOV. This is .mov is the extension for this. So I'm going to go ahead and just click on export, and what happens is the frames in the background here, what it's doing is it's making PNG images, static PNG images that are going to be all kind of tied together at the end of this process. So it says it's processing the timeline. And you can barely see it, but here in the background we have it semi-transparent so that you can kind of get that there's something going on. Sometimes if it's too close to the tint, you're not going to be able to see anything, but you can just barely see that hand going in there, and that's what's going on. And so this is the approach that video programs that are not made by Adobe and Sony and the big companies that can afford to make their own rendering programs. All of us kind of small companies use, or most of us use ffmpeg as it's a little utility. And what it does is it converts static PNG images to video into the various formats. And so we're ready to do that now. Now notice that we have the extension automatically going in there. But there are some versions of Windows in particular that can override our code and have it not be there. So you really need to have that extension there. So if it's MP4, it is .mp4. If it's WebM, it's .webm. So QuickTime is .mov, and then of course the ping sequence is PNG. And so you want to go ahead and give the name, whatever you're going to name it here, and new name, and you leave that extension there. Now I've already exported this out, so I'm not going to waste your time with that, although it is pretty quick. And I've got a couple of samples here. That first one I just rendered out as QuickTime. I'm going to look at it in QuickTime. And so we get a good rendering here. Now I wanted to point out that I did a version here. I purposely made a mistake. I wanted to point this one out to you. Here's a version where the background was transparent. It's an MP4. Now MP4 doesn't support transparency, so that's going to look awful. So just be aware of that. You want to have, if you're working with an MP4 file, there's a couple of options you can do. You can have a background image like I have. There's an add new block feature here, which basically puts just a square of whatever color you've selected there. And or you can go into the settings and change the stage to whatever color you want. It's transparent by default. If you are trying to export to the QuickTime MOV format and you're finding that the transparency isn't there, that's because the program that you're using is not supporting it. There's only one option for QuickTime MOV transparent export. It's the animation codec, and that's what we're using. So if you're finding that you're not seeing the transparency, it is most likely because the program or the previewer that you're doing doesn't support the animation codec. Apple, as of April 2016, stopped supporting transparent QuickTime MOV on the PC or Windows platform. And so there's an increasing number of programs that have that problem. We are about to release a program called Video Tool Chest that's going to help you with that if you have that problem. And we are hoping to even get that basically MOV technology inside of Kinetic Text Animator and our other apps in the future. So we're working on that, but that's QuickTime MOV is something that the video program or the previewer, the video previewer needs to be able to support that in order to be able to see that. If I take this out, delete this block here, and I go to settings and I have the transparent here, then what I'm going to go ahead, I have that same animation here. Okay, now it doesn't look transparent because my stage looks white, but let's go ahead and export this to QuickTime. And now it goes a little bit faster. As you can see here in the background, much better because the background is removed and it's kind of more white. You can see that hand going on there. And what I'm going to go ahead and do while we're doing this is I'm going to go ahead and create a new file here, and let's get a image here. We'll go ahead and have that going on. Let's do, I'm just trying to find an image that we can put inside so we can see that it's overlaying. Let's just do this scene here. Okay, so this will make sense in a second. I'm just trying to find an image to have the animation that we're doing here view on top of. So let's do hand, and we'll go that to my desktop here so I can find it quickly. And now note that again, I'm on the Macintosh, so QuickTime MOV is a very standard format, of course, for the Mac because it's created by Apple, and so it's going to work fine. But just wanted to demonstrate. So let's come down here, and we'll make this appear on top of that so that we can see that it's transparent. So just wanted to be able to point out that this is really an issue mostly for PC users, Windows PC users. So a growing number of programs did not support the QuickTime MOV format. So that's if you're running into that, it's almost certainly your program, unfortunately. So we're working on finding solutions for that. So it pretty much covers all of the export options and tips that you need to be aware of for troubleshooting your exports inside of Kinetic Text Animator. But I do want to finish off this video. Kinetic Text Animator works with every audio and MP4 and video format, whatever, that we have tested so far. So if you are running into one that doesn't work, please let us know. You can go to our contact page. I'm gonna pull that up. I had that up a second ago. And you can go to anabits.com/contact. We have a contact page at Kinetic Text Animator, and you can go to our Facebook group here on Facebook, and it's called the Animation Creators Club, and let us know. But here's the key: we really need to get that file that you're working with. It doesn't help us to say that it's not working. We need to know more details. We need to know what platform you're on. We need to know what OS, operating Windows or Macintosh. We need to know what version of the operating system is, and we need the files. So if you're finding that they're not working and you want us to let us know, and we would love to fix that. We just need to get that information, and we need to get the files that you're working with so we can test them and we can find out if there's some thing in the file format that is not working. For example, recently we discovered that if a MP4 file had an audio track but with no audio in it, it was causing Kinetic Text Animator problems. So we fixed that in the most recent update. So it's things like that we need to, we didn't have a file like that, so we didn't know that was a problem until someone sent it to us, and so it allowed us to figure that out and get it fixed. So if you're running into a problem, please give us that information and the files, and we will be very eager to get that fixed inside of a near future update of Kinetic Text Animator. Thanks a lot.